the money finally started arriving. After years of building, grinding, sacrificing, the numbers changed. Real money, not just surviving money. Money that accumulates after bills are paid and investments are funded, and there's still more. And I had no idea what to do with it. Every piece of financial advice I'd consumed was about scarcity. What not to buy, what to avoid, how to squeeze every dollar, how to resist temptation, how to delay gratification indefinitely. Nobody told me what to do when gratification could finally stop being delayed, when the defensive phase ends and something else should begin. So I made mistakes. I upgraded the wrong things. I kept depriving myself of things that would have genuinely improved my life. I spent on things that provided nothing lasting while neglecting investments that would have compounded into significant quality of life improvements. It took years to figure out what actually deserves upgrading when real money starts flowing. What produces returns versus what just depletes resources. What improves life meaningfully versus what just costs more. Today, I'm sharing what I learned. 10 specific upgrades that make sense once you're financially stable. Not status symbols, not luxury for its own sake. Strategic improvements that compound into better health, more time, higher productivity, and greater fulfillment. This assumes you're already doing the fundamentals. Saving consistently, investing for the future, living below your means, emergency fund established, the basics handled. If those aren't in place, handle those first. This conversation is for after the foundation is solid, after money is no longer primarily a survival tool and can become an optimization tool. The shift from defensive finance to strategic upgrading changes everything about how you think about spending. The first thing that deserves upgrading might seem mundane, but it produces returns every single day. Your work environment shapes your output in ways most people never consciously consider. The space where you spend 6, 8, 10 hours daily either supports your productivity and health or undermines them. Most people work in environments they inherited or assembled accidentally. They never deliberately designed the space for optimal function. I worked at a cheap desk on a cheap chair staring at a single small monitor for years. I told myself it didn't matter. The work was what mattered, not the setup. I was being frugal and responsible. My back disagreed. My neck disagreed. My energy levels by afternoon disagreed. My output quality after 6 hours of hunching over inadequate equipment disagreed. The upgrade that changed everything wasn't expensive relative to what it produced. A standing desk that lets me alternate between sitting and standing throughout the day. An ergonomic chair that actually supports my spine when I do sit. A second monitor that eliminates the constant window switching that breaks concentration. A mechanical keyboard that makes typing feel precise. Quality headphones that create focus by eliminating distraction. Each piece individually seems like unnecessary spending when you're in scarcity mindset. Together, they transformed my daily work experience. Standing periodically breaks the sedentary pattern that destroys posture and energy. The blood circulates, the muscles engage, the afternoon fog that used to descend around 2 o'clock largely disappeared. The second monitor alone probably increased my effective productivity by 20 or 30%. Not having to constantly shuffle windows, not losing context, switching between documents, not hunting for the reference material that was just visible a moment ago. Cognitive efficiency improved measurably. The ergonomic chair prevents the long-term physical damage that accumulates invisibly until it becomes debilitating. The posture issues I was developing reversed. The back pain that was becoming chronic faded. Small upgrades compound daily when you use them daily. An environment that makes you 5% more productive doesn't seem significant. But 5% more productive across thousands of hours of work over years becomes substantial additional output. Substantial additional output often translates to substantial additional income. The upgrade pays for itself repeatedly. If you work at a desk, optimizing that environment produces compounding returns in productivity, health, and eventually income. This isn't luxury spending. This is investing in your primary production capacity. Something else deserves upgrading that most people get backwards when money arrives. The natural instinct when real money starts flowing is upgrading possessions. Better car, better furniture, better electronics, nicer things everywhere. These upgrades provide something, but they provide less than people expect, and the satisfaction fades faster than anticipated. Research consistently shows that experiences generate longer-lasting happiness than material goods. The psychology is interesting. Objects are always present, so you adapt to them quickly. They become background. The initial excitement fades into normalcy within weeks or months. Experiences exist primarily in memory, and memories have a quality that objects lack. They can be revisited emotionally. They can be shared in stories. They become part of identity. They improve with time as the inconveniences fade and the meaningful moments become more vivid. I spent money on a very nice watch once. Expensive, high quality, something I thought would bring satisfaction every time I looked at my wrist. For maybe 2 weeks I noticed it. After that, it was just a watch. The money sat on my wrist producing nothing. Compare that to a trip I took with close friends. The cost was similar to the watch. The trip ended years ago. But the memories remain vivid. The inside jokes still surface in conversations. The shared experience created something that exists between us permanently. Material excitement fades. Experiences appreciate in memory. This doesn't mean never buy things. It means when you're deciding where upgrade money should flow, weight experiences heavily. Travel, events, shared activities with people you care about. These create emotional wealth that compounds over time. Experiences also strengthen relationships in ways possessions cannot. Sharing an adventure with someone creates bonds that sharing ownership of an object never does. The memories become shared property that enriches the relationship indefinitely. When real money arrives, the temptation is nicer stuff everywhere. The wiser choice is better experiences strategically, less visible to others, more valuable to you. Something technical deserves attention once income reaches certain levels. Your tax strategy needs upgrading when your income upgrades. What worked when you earned modest amounts stops working when you earn more. The rules change at higher income levels, and playing by the old rules costs significant money. I ignored this for too long. I filed taxes the same way regardless of income changes. I left substantial money on the table because I didn't understand that higher income requires more sophisticated approaches. One specific example that applies to many higher earners is the backdoor Roth IRA contribution. Regular Roth IRA contributions have income limits. Above certain thresholds, you can't contribute directly. Many people just stop contributing to Roth accounts when their income rises, not realizing a legal workaround exists. The backdoor approach involves contributing to a traditional IRA and then converting to Roth. The mechanics have specific requirements to avoid complications. Getting it wrong creates tax problems. Getting it right provides tax-advantaged growth that wouldn't otherwise be available. This is one example among many. The broader point is that wealth building becomes more technical at higher income levels. Strategies that didn't matter when income was lower suddenly matter a lot. Understanding contribution limits, workarounds, and optimization techniques becomes valuable. The investment to learn these strategies or the investment to hire someone who knows them pays returns that dwarf the cost, which leads directly to another upgrade that makes sense at higher income levels. Doing your own taxes made sense when your financial situation was simple. One income source, standard deduction, straightforward filing. Tax software handled it adequately. Complexity changes the calculation. Multiple income streams, investment accounts with various tax treatments, retirement contributions, business expenses potentially, real estate considerations possibly. The complexity increases and the stakes increase with it. Mistakes at higher income levels cost more. The penalty for getting something wrong scales with the numbers involved. What was a minor error at 50,000 income becomes a substantial error at 200,000 income. A good CPA does more than file taxes. They think strategically about your situation throughout the year. They identify opportunities you didn't know existed. They prevent mistakes that would have cost far more than their fees. The return on investment thinking applies directly. If a CPA costs $1,500 but saves you $5,000 through optimization, you wouldn't have found yourself. That's a 300% return. If they prevent a mistake that would have triggered a $3,000 penalty, the value is even clearer. Beyond the direct financial return, there's reduced stress and decision fatigue. Not having to figure out complex tax situations yourself. Not worrying whether you're doing it correctly. Not spending hours on something someone else could do better in less time. At a certain income level, paying for expertise becomes obvious leverage. You're not just paying for tax filing, you're paying for strategic optimization that produces returns exceeding the cost. Another category deserves upgrading that people resist for psychological reasons. Food quality affects everything, but people hesitate to spend on it. When building wealth, cheap food makes sense. Survival mode, every dollar toward investments. Cutting food costs is one of the easier ways to increase savings rate. But there's a version of this that goes too far, eating the absolute cheapest possible food consistently, prioritizing cost over any other factor. This creates problems that compound over time. Nutrition affects cognitive performance directly. The brain consumes enormous resources. Feed it poorly and it performs poorly. The afternoon energy crash, the difficulty concentrating, the mental fog. These aren't just tiredness, they're often nutritional. Nutrient density matters. Getting adequate protein, vitamins, minerals, and other requirements from actual food affects how you feel and function. The cheap processed options that minimize cost often minimize nutrition too. I'm not arguing for expensive luxury ingredients. The jump from bottom-tier food quality to adequate food quality isn't that expensive. Fresh vegetables instead of only canned, quality protein sources, actual whole foods alongside the convenient options. The impact compounds like investments do. Slightly better daily energy, slightly clearer thinking, slightly more consistent mood. These small daily improvements accumulate into substantially better quality of life over months and years. Long-term health compounds too. The foundation you build with nutrition in your 30s and 40s affects what your 60s and 70s look like. Cutting costs on food might optimize short-term finances while degrading long-term health. Your body is your primary asset. Every other asset depends on it functioning. Fueling it adequately deserves priority once the money exists to do so. An upgrade category that feels uncomfortable but produces substantial returns involves delegating tasks. Time becomes more valuable as income rises. This is mathematical. An hour of your time at $50 per hour has different value than an hour at $200 per hour. But most people don't adjust their behavior to reflect this. They still spend hours doing tasks that could be delegated cheaply. Cleaning, laundry, lawn care, grocery shopping, administrative tasks. These consume time that could produce more value doing something else. The discomfort is psychological. These feel like things you should do yourself. Paying someone else feels lazy or excessive. The frugality mindset resists it. But the math is clear. If your time is worth $100 per hour and you can pay someone $20 per hour for a task, spending your hour on that task costs you $80 in opportunity. You're not saving money by doing it yourself. You're losing money. Services reduce friction and mental load beyond just the time savings. The decision fatigue of managing household tasks drains energy that could go elsewhere. The mental space occupied by logistics could be occupied by higher value thinking. I resisted this for too long. I spent weekends on tasks that felt responsible, but were actually poor use of my time given what my time had become worth. When I finally started delegating, the relief was immediate. Not just the hours recovered, the mental space cleared. Food delivery when cooking would consume time better spent elsewhere. Laundry services that return clothes clean and folded. Housekeeping that handles what would otherwise consume weekend hours. Lawn care that eliminates recurring outdoor maintenance. Each of these feels indulgent until you calculate the actual economics. You're paying for efficiency and time recovery. You're not paying for laziness. The time recovered can go toward income generation, toward relationships, toward health, toward anything more valuable than the task being delegated. Once your hourly earning power rises, your behavior should reflect it. Continuing to do low-value tasks yourself is leaving money on the table, while also leaving life quality on the table. Health upgrades deserve special attention because everything else depends on them. I neglected this category while upgrading others. I optimized work environment and delegated tasks and improved food quality somewhat, but the foundational health investments lagged. Sleep is probably the highest return health investment. The mattress you sleep on for 8 hours nightly matters enormously, yet people will spend thousands on furniture they sit on occasionally, while sleeping on inadequate mattresses every single night. A quality mattress changes sleep quality. Better sleep changes everything else: energy, mood, cognitive function, physical recovery, immune function. The research on sleep's impact is overwhelming. Optimizing sleep produces benefits across every other area of life. Beyond the mattress, the sleep environment matters. Blackout curtains that eliminate light, temperature control, quality pillows, everything that makes the sleep period more effective. Exercise consistency correlates with friction. The easier exercise is to do, the more consistently you do it. Gym proximity affects how often you actually go. If the gym requires significant travel, the excuse not to go becomes easier to accept. A gym closer to home or work increases consistency. A home gym eliminates friction almost entirely. The equipment is there when you are, no travel required, no membership to forget. The barrier to starting a workout drops to almost nothing. Therapy and mental health support deserve mention in the health category. Physical health gets attention. Mental health often gets neglected until crisis forces attention. But mental health affects physical health. Stress affects everything. Unprocessed emotional material affects decision-making, relationships, and well-being. Having a therapist when you need one, rather than scrambling to find one during crisis, creates stability. Regular mental health maintenance prevents the accumulation that eventually becomes overwhelming. Recovery tools and longevity investments fit here too. The things that help your body recover and function well over time. These aren't luxuries when health is the foundation everything else requires. Money without health is wealth you cannot use. The person with millions who can't enjoy life due to health problems has less functional wealth than the person with modest resources and excellent health. Health underpins everything else. It deserves upgrading priority. A professional relationship worth establishing once financial complexity reaches certain levels involves formal financial advice. Most people don't need financial advisors early. When you're saving and investing in straightforward accounts, the advisor's value doesn't exceed their cost. Index funds and standard retirement accounts don't require expert guidance. Complexity changes this. Multiple account types, tax optimization across accounts, estate planning considerations, major financial decisions with long-term consequences. At certain complexity levels, professional guidance produces value. But perhaps more valuable than technical expertise is behavioral coaching. Most wealth destruction happens through emotional decisions, panic selling during market downturns, chasing performance during bubbles, making major financial moves during emotional life events. These behavioral mistakes cost more than suboptimal investment selection ever could. A good advisor provides a buffer against your own emotions, someone to talk you down when panic strikes, someone to prevent the rash decision that would destroy years of accumulation, someone who's seen many people face similar situations and knows what tends to work versus what tends to fail. Fee structure matters when selecting an advisor. Commission-based advisors have incentives that may not align with yours. They earn more when you buy products, regardless of whether those products serve you optimally. Flat fee or fee-only advisors align better. You pay for advice. They have no incentive to recommend products that benefit them rather than you. A fiduciary standard matters. Fiduciaries are legally required to act in your interest. Non-fiduciaries face lower standards. Insist on fiduciary relationship if establishing an advisory relationship. The value of behavioral protection can exceed any investment selection value. Preventing yourself from making the emotional mistake that destroys wealth might be the highest return service an advisor provides. An upgrade category that produces direct income returns deserves emphasis. Skill development is the highest return investment most people can make, and this remains true even after real money starts flowing. The skills that got you to your current income level may not be the skills that take you higher. Continued investment in capabilities that increase market value produces returns that dwarf most financial investments. Education spending should produce ROI. Not education for its own sake, but education that expands what you can offer professionally. Certifications that increase credibility and opportunity. Technical skills that command premium compensation. Strategic knowledge that enables better decisions. I invested in a professional certification that cost several $1,000s and significant study time. The income increase it enabled within 2 years exceeded the cost by a factor of 5. The ongoing income benefit continues indefinitely. Specific certifications carry weight in specific fields. CPA in accounting and finance, CFA for investment, PMP for project management, technical certifications in various specialized fields. These credentials signal competency and open doors. Beyond formal certifications, skill stacking produces unique value, combining capabilities in ways that are individually common but rarely combined. The person who can code and communicate effectively is rarer than the person who can only do one. The combination commands premium. Networking investments fit here too. strategic relationship building that creates opportunity, access to people and information that wouldn't otherwise be available. This isn't schmoozing. It's intentional connection with people whose success could intersect with yours. A 1 to 2 year payback rule helps evaluate skill investments. If the investment won't pay back within 2 years through increased income or opportunity, question it carefully. If payback is likely within a year or two, the investment usually makes sense. You are the highest return asset you own. Continued investment in yourself often produces returns that exceed any external investment. Don't stop this investment just because external wealth is accumulating. A final category deserves upgrading that money-focused people often neglect entirely. Your hobbies and fulfillment activities matter for reasons beyond their direct utility. Wealth accumulation can become all-consuming. Every dollar evaluated for investment return, every hour evaluated for productivity, every activity evaluated for contribution to financial goals. This produces wealth, but often fails to produce happiness. The person who optimizes everything for financial return but never enjoys anything hasn't actually succeeded. They've accumulated numbers while depleting life quality. Hobbies protect mental health. They provide engagement that isn't tied to income or productivity. They create zones where performance pressure doesn't apply. They offer satisfaction that doesn't require external validation. Upgrading hobby equipment and experiences makes sense once resources allow it. The better guitar makes playing more enjoyable. The better camera makes photography more engaging. The better equipment for whatever you love doing makes the doing more fulfilling. Skill mastery in hobby areas increases confidence that transfers elsewhere. Getting genuinely good at something, even something with no practical application, builds general self-belief that affects everything else. Communities form around shared interests. The relationships developed through hobbies often become some of the most genuine because they're not instrumental. No one is trying to get something from each other. The connection exists around shared enjoyment, and hobbies can evolve into income streams for those who develop enough capability. The thing you do for enjoyment sometimes becomes the thing others will pay you to teach or perform or create. This isn't the goal, but it's a possible bonus. Fulfillment cannot be indefinitely deferred. The mindset that you'll enjoy life later, after accumulating enough, never arrives at later. There's always more to accumulate, always another milestone to reach. The person who never makes space for enjoyment never enjoys anything regardless of wealth level. Wealth is incomplete without enjoyment. The upgrade money should buy isn't just productivity and health and tax optimization. It should also buy satisfaction and pleasure and fulfillment. These are not frivolous. They're the point. Let me bring this together because there's a larger framework underneath these specific upgrades. The shift from scarcity to optimization represents a fundamental change in relationship with money. Early-stage financial life is survival and saving. Don't spend, accumulate, resist, sacrifice. These orientations serve the goal of building a foundation from nothing. But if that orientation never evolves, you end up with wealth you don't benefit from. Accumulation without optimization. Possession without enjoyment. Numbers that grow while life quality stagnates. Later stage financial life should be refinement and leverage. Strategic spending that produces returns. Calculated upgrades that improve function. Investment in quality of life alongside investment in portfolio size. This transition is psychologically difficult for people who spent years in scarcity mode. The habits that built wealth feel unsafe to release. The frugality that served so well feels like identity, not just strategy. But holding on to scarcity mentality indefinitely defeats the purpose of building wealth in the first place. At some point, the defensive crouch should become an upright stance. Compounding applies to everything I've discussed, not just financial investments. EALTH compounds. The exercise habit maintained for years produces dramatically different physical condition than the same habit maintained for months. The nutrition quality sustained over decades shapes health trajectory in ways single choices cannot. Skills compound. Capabilities developed build on each other. The expertise developed early enables advanced expertise later. Knowledge stacks. Experience accumulates. Professional value compounds over a career. Tax strategy compounds. The savings achieved through optimization invested over time become substantial wealth that wouldn't exist without the optimization. Productivity compounds. The efficiency gained from better environment produces additional output that translates to additional income that enables additional investment. Relationships compound. The friendships and professional connections maintained over years become increasingly valuable as everyone involved grows. The upgrades I've described all operate on compounding logic. They produce small daily returns that accumulate into large lifetime returns. This is why they deserve priority. The earlier the upgrade, the more compounding periods, the larger the ultimate benefit. Money should increase quality of life. This seems obvious, but people lose sight of it in the accumulation phase. More energy, more time, better health, stronger relationships, greater fulfillment. These are what wealth is for. Accumulating wealth while depleting these is not success. It's tragic optimization of the wrong variable. Each upgrade I've discussed serves quality of life improvement. Work environment improves daily experience and physical health. Experiences improve emotional wealth and relationships. Tax strategy increases net resources. Professional support increases efficiency and reduces stress. Food quality improves health and cognition. Delegation recovers time. Health investments protect the foundation. Skills increase capability and confidence. Hobbies provide fulfillment. All of this points toward what money is actually for. Not hoarding, not displaying, improving the actual experience of being alive. Intentional spending defeats impulsive spending. The opposite of strategic upgrading is lifestyle inflation. Money arrives and spending increases unconsciously across all categories. Nicer versions of everything without consideration of whether the upgrade produces value. Strategic upgrading is selective and reasoned. Why this upgrade specifically? What return does it produce? How does it improve life in measurable ways? The person who intentionally upgrades what matters while maintaining discipline elsewhere builds a life that actually reflects their values. The person who inflates lifestyle across all categories builds obligations that require continued high income indefinitely. Upgrade what produces value, maintain discipline on what doesn't. This combination creates a life optimized for what actually matters to you rather than a life optimized for appearing successful to others. The upgrades I've described share a common characteristic. They produce returns that exceed their costs when measured properly. They're not expenses. They're investments in different assets than traditional financial investments. Your body is an asset. Invest in it through food, exercise, and health infrastructure. Your time is an asset. Invest in it through delegation and efficiency. Your productivity is an asset. Invest in it through environment optimization. Your relationships are assets. Invest in them through experiences and presence. Your mental health is an asset. Invest in it through support and fulfillment activities. Your skills are assets. Invest in them through continued development. Traditional financial advice focuses on financial assets. This is necessary but incomplete. The full picture includes all assets that contribute to life quality and capability. Write in the comments which upgrade resonates most strongly with your current situation. What have you been neglecting that deserves attention now that resources allow? Sometimes naming the upgrade begins the implementation. Share this with someone who has built financial stability but isn't sure what comes next. Someone stuck in scarcity mindset when optimization mindset would serve better. Someone accumulating without enjoying. The perspective might shift how they think about what money is for. The upgrades I've described are not exhaustive. They're examples of the principle. Look at your own life. What investments would produce compounding returns in your specific situation? What would you upgrade if you gave yourself permission? The money is a tool. Tools are meant to be used. Used strategically, it produces a life that actually reflects what you've built. That's the point of building in the first place. Use what you've built.